A quiet home, a sudden scream, and a crime so horrifying that it shook an entire nation. What happened inside the Lancelin household that turned two sisters into cold-blooded killers? This is the story of the Papin Sisters, one of the darkest chapters in true crime history. Welcome to Night Coffee Crime, let's uncover the truth. Christine Papin, 27, and Léa Papin, 21, known simply as the Papin sisters, were born into a life marked by hardship and tragedy in Le Mans, France. Their early years were far from stable, shaped by a fractured family and a bleak future. The sisters had an elder sibling, Emilia, who chose a religious path and became a nun. Christine and Léa, however, found themselves navigating a different course. Christine was sent to live with an aunt at a young age, while all three sisters eventually spent time in a convent in Le Mans. Christine took up domestic service, and her fierce, almost obsessive protectiveness of Léa became the defining feature of their relationship. Bound by an inseparable bond, the two sisters were determined to work together, no matter the circumstances. They found stability, if only temporary, with the Lancelin family, where they worked as live-in maids for 7 years. Sharing a room and cutting ties with their troubled mother, Christine and Léa lived for one another. Their bond was their strength, but it was also the seed of something darker, something that would soon spiral out of control. It was February 2nd, 1933. Around 7 p.m., when René Lancelin, a 63-year-old retired solicitor, returned home to Rue Brière in Le Mans. He expected to find his wife, Lenny, 53, and his daughter, Genevieve, 29, waiting for him to share a pre-arranged supper. But that evening, something was horribly wrong. Madame Lancelin and Genevieve never appeared for dinner. As René arrived at the house, he found the front door bolted shut, and the home was eerily dark. The only light he could see came from the attic window, the room where the two maids, Christine and Léa Papin, slept. Growing more anxious, René attempted to enter the house. He was soon joined by the police, and together they broke into the home. What they discovered inside was a scene of unimaginable horror. Madame Lancelin and Genevieve lay lifeless on the landing, their bodies mutilated beyond recognition. Their eyes had been gouged out, torn from their sockets, and their faces brutally beaten. The blood-soaked scene left everyone who witnessed it in shock. In the wake of the shocking discovery of the Lancelin murders, there were immediate fears that the maids, Christine and Léa, might have suffered a similar fate. The bolted door to their attic room only heightened these concerns. But when the door was finally forced open, the police were met with an unexpected sight. Christine and Léa, alive and seemingly unharmed, lying quietly together in bed. The shock didn't end there. The two sisters, upon being confronted, immediately admitted their responsibility for the brutal killings. But while the confessions seemed straightforward, what truly happened that night at 6 Rue Brière in Le Mans remained shrouded in mystery. After her arrest, 21-year-old Léa, the younger of the two, shocked everyone when she told the police, "From now on, I am deaf and dumb." This cryptic statement would only deepen the mystery surrounding the motives and events that led to the gruesome murders. As the investigation into the murders continued, a crucial detail emerged. Just before Madame Lancelin and Genevieve arrived home, a fuse had blown in the house, an incident caused by an iron that had recently been repaired after a similar problem. The cost of the previous repair had been deducted from Christine and Léa's wages, adding more strain to their already tense relationship with their employers. Could something as seemingly trivial as a blown fuse really have driven the sisters to commit such a horrific crime? Christine, when reflecting on the events, made a chilling statement. "I'd rather have had our boss's hides than for them to have had ours." This declaration suggests the deep resentment the sisters harbored, but it also raises the question: was it the final straw in a long-standing build-up of tension? While it's impossible to fully understand the sisters' state of mind in those final moments, one thing is clear: the violence that followed was far more than just a spontaneous act. At trial, the defense for Christine and Léa Papin argued that the sisters were temporarily insane at the time of the murders. However, this strategy failed to convince the court. Despite the defense's claims, the two sisters were declared sane. The trial marked a turning point in their lives, with their fates now set on very different paths. Christine was initially sentenced to death by guillotine, but her sentence was later commuted to life imprisonment. However, her time in prison was marked by profound despair. Christine refused to eat, leading to her transfer to an asylum. Her health deteriorated rapidly, and in 1937, at the age of 32, Christine died from cachexia at an asylum in Rennes. Léa, the younger sister, faced a much more lenient sentence. Due to mitigating circumstances, she was sentenced to 10 years of hard labor. Léa served 8 years before being released in the 1940s. After her release, she quietly faded from public view, living out the rest of her life in relative obscurity. Léa passed away at the age of 90 in 2001. 90 years later, the motive behind the Papin sisters' crime remains shrouded in mystery. Despite decades of speculation and analysis, no definitive explanation has surfaced to account for their brutal actions. It is believed by some psychological experts that the sisters may have suffered from a form of mental illness, which could have contributed to the violent crime. Adding to the intrigue, rumors have long circulated suggesting that Christine and Léa shared an intimate relationship, possibly even as lovers, an idea that further complicates the understanding of their bond and the horrific events that followed. Intellectuals and social theorists soon weighed in on the Papin sisters' crime, offering a unique perspective that gave the event a social dimension. This led some to view the murders not just as the actions of two women, but as a revolutionary act, two oppressed women striking a blow against their bourgeois employers. The crime committed by the Papin sisters in February 1933 quickly became one of the most sensational cases in the history of French crime. Its unprecedented violence, the unclear motives, and the psychiatric questions it raised made it a case unlike any other. For some, the sisters were nothing more than murderous criminals, but for others, they were victims of a class struggle, oppressed by the very people they served. The maids divided public opinion and sparked intense debates among philosophers, writers, and politicians. The case has been retold, reinterpreted, and represented in numerous forms over the years. From Wendy Kesselman's My Sister in This House, to Ruth Rendell's A Judgment in Stone, Paula Reger's haunting 1987 painting, and Jean Genet's extraordinary 1947 play, The Maids. The story of Christine and Léa Papin continues to inspire and provoke new interpretations. The story of Christine and Léa Papin remains one of the most disturbing and debated cases in true crime history. Nearly 90 years later, their crime continues to captivate and divide public opinion, raising questions about mental illness, class struggle, and the complexities of human nature. Whether viewed as tragic victims of their circumstances or as ruthless criminals, the legacy of the Papin sisters endures, leaving a lasting mark on French society and the criminal world. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of one of the most sensational cases in French crime history. Stay safe, and as always, remember to question everything.